Hello, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting. Got a slightly different venue where I'm filming today. I'm filming from the dining room. It's got far better light than the room that I normally film in. And I wanted to show you what I've done with the new Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. I'm a little bit late to the vellum party. I see lots of people crafting with vellum. Never used it before. And the very first time I used it, I thought, I'll heat emboss it. Never want to do anything simple. I always like to go straight in there and try something complicated. So that's what I did. I realised that any adhesive that you put on it shows right through from the other side. So I kind of misplaced my sentiment there. But I put some glue on here and then I've just covered that with some, I've just punched out some butterflies from the butterfly punch. And I use the Good Morning Magnolia. Let me show you this stamp set. This is another reason for filming in my dining room. I haven't got that artificial light glaring on my stamps. This is just stunning. And this graphic on here doesn't do this any justice whatsoever. I've started to have a play with this Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. This comes out on the 4th of June, but as a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I've been able to pre-order this. One of the perks of being a demonstrator, I've been able to pre-order this and started to have a play. We have some DSP that goes with this as well. So myself and some other demonstrators in our team, we took part in a paper share. So between us, we bought what we could from the pre-order list. We bought all of the DSP that was available, and then so there's 4 of us in the group, and we've just split it between us. So a paper share is an ideal way of buying all of the paper, but you share it amongst maybe amongst friends, or I'm going to do a paper share on my group. I'll be announcing that on our Facebook launch party. So if you want a quarter share of everything, let me know. But look out for that on my Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Taffy Crafting. And I'll also announce it here on YouTube as well. So this is the Magnolia Lane DSP. So that's what we have. It's just so pretty. We've got more of a ditzy, smaller magnolias. And that's what we have on the other side of that. Almost kind of woven look on that one. And a slightly lighter magnolia with the white background. And then we've got this gorgeous green on the back. Slightly different, very similar to that, but these are closed magnolias. And then we've got that lovely green on the back with some white leaves and some white flowers on there. So the green, and then a bit busier with magnolias. And then we've got, this is a brown, this is early espresso with lots of leaves on that as well. And then my favourite out of all of them, so this is black with this gorgeous green and these very light pink to white flowers. And we've got that on the background, a very vintage look going on there. So a beautiful, beautiful DSP. I'm really impressed this year with what Stampin' Up have done with DSP. Absolutely stunning. And so that coordinates with this. It coordinates with all of the inks. But I want to show you what I've done, something really, really simple with vellum and with heat embossing. And I want to show you what I've done there. So I'm starting off with a piece of vellum. Now I need to cut this. Vellum is quite robust, really, really robust. It's not as flimsy as you might think it is. So there's no need to be scared of it. I need to grab my trimmer, which is the other side of the table. You're gonna hear a crash probably in a second. Well prepared as always. So there's my paper trimmer. And the width of my card will be 4 1/8. So I just want to trim this to 4 inches. And that just trims really, really easily. And then this end I want trimmed to 5 3/4. I'm just taking 1/8 of an inch off both sides from the size of the card. Okay, so there's our vellum there. I'll deal with the card base in a second. So there's our vellum. You can see how see-through that is. It's like really, really thick tracing paper. So you could trace something through that if you want. If you're really super artistic, which I am not, you could trace something on there if you wanted to. Anyway, let's get on with this. So when you are heat embossing, the first thing you have to do is prepare the surface that you're going to heat emboss. And you need to do that with the embossing buddy. So there's the embossing buddy. It's just a little cushion, little squidgy cushion. I don't actually know what's in that, but anyway, you rub it over the surface that you're going to heat emboss, and it takes away all of the static. We're going to be using embossing powder, and embossing powder will stick to anything. It will cling to anything where there is some sort of static charge. So you need to remove that from there. The other thing you need to do is, once you have put the embossing buddy over it, is then try not to touch that surface. Our hands are naturally greasy, and again, the embossing powder will want to stick to that. So I'm just going to gently push that to one side for a moment, and I'm going to prepare my stamp. So there is the Magnolia stamp. It's a bit of a beast, but it does look absolutely stunning when it's on a project. And we're going to be using Versamark. Versamark is, it's like an ink pad, but not. So I'm just going to stamp I'll just cover my stamp with that. Again, I don't know what it is. It's like sticky stuff. It's what we are going to get. I'm really technical. I don't know, do I? Google it. It's just going to be a layer that the embossing powder will stick to. So we've got that. Now, this is the tricky bit really, because once you've stamped that, you can't really see it. So we won't see if it's stamped properly. So I just need to line this up, because this is quite wide, this stamp, and I don't want it in the middle of the vellum. I want it to be slightly towards the bottom. I'm just going to push that down. Give that a firm press. I've had to use the biggest block for this. And you might not be able to see that there on camera, but I can just about. You might be able to see that, I don't know, but you can just about make out the image. Now, before we put the embossing powder on there, get yourself a piece of paper. All will be revealed shortly. And I'm using gold embossing powder. You could use silver, you could use the copper. And you are just going to, this reminds me of when we used to use glitter at school. That was a long time ago. And I'm just going to sprinkle the embossing powder all over this piece of vellum, because I can't, now the sun's gone in, I can't see where that Versamark has gone. So it's just going to go all of that. I can see we have a leaf up there. I think all of that is covered. Just chuck a bit more on just in case. And then what you will see happen next. Now you've really got to tap this quite hard to get all of that excess . Now this isn't brilliant. I don't know if that is supposed to be there. I've got a bit of a splodge there. I can't wipe it, because if I wiped it, all of the embossing powder will come off. But anywhere that you can get to that's not going to touch any of those outlines, you can just wipe off. It's not quite gone right there. Anyway, that is what it is. Probably won't show too much when we heat emboss it. So don't put this to one side and leave it and say I'll do it later. Get this away straight away. get this back into the pot. Just leaves this powdery residue everywhere, which let's just get rid of that now. Let's just get that out of the way. For the next stage, we need a heat tool. So I got this funky pink one. The Stampin' Up one is grey. I bought this before I joined Stampin' Up, before I even discovered Stampin' Up. But the Stampin' Up one is exactly the same. You can buy these anywhere. So the next thing we're going to do is heat this. Now I've tried all different things. It doesn't work with a hairdryer. The hairdryer's heat isn't intense enough. So you do have to be careful with this. So if you're getting children to do this project, they do really need to be supervised. So I'm going to switch it on. It's not plugged in. Let's try that again, shall we? Switch it on. And you point it at the project. You get quite close, and what you'll start to see as it gets hot enough, there we go. That then turns gold. Now the other thing that will happen is that this vellum will warp just because you're getting it hot, and it does the same with card and paper. And there is a way of dealing with that, and this is what I do, and this has worked. What I would do next is then put that between two sheets of card, and then while it's cooling down, put something heavy on it, and while it's cooling down, then it will flatten out. So literally just like in between my, I'm going to find that again, in between my grid paper there, and just while it's cooling down. So while we're waiting for that, let's just prepare our card base, a simple card base. What I completely forgot about was to put my sentiment on there, so we better do that. So I'm going to use the Thinking of You sentiment. I've just got a smaller block for that. Let's just get that embossing buddy out again, just because I've had my fingers all over that. And I'm just going to, would help if I put it on the right side. So I'm just going to put some of that embossing buddy on there. That is not a step to miss out. I've tried that before. I've heat embossed something before, wondered why it looked so horrible, and then realised that I'd not gone over it with the embossing buddy. Used the embossing buddy, worked perfectly. So you can't skip that step. So just put some Versamark on my stamp. Let's do this nice and quick. Let's make sure that I've got that lined up. Don't know it's lined up because we can't see it. Get some, let's get a bit of paper. So we'll watch that happen again. Wish I'd done that properly the first time round. Make sure all of that is off. I think I missed a little bit there. That's better. Okay, let's just get this powder back in there. Back in the pot. Right. Grab my heat tool. And we'll quickly warm that up. All done. Right, I'm just going to put that underneath in there. Just going to flatten that. So you've probably seen me loads of times make a card base, but this could be the first time you've watched one of my videos. Could be the first time you've ever watched a Stampin' Up demonstrator video, the first time we've ever watched a card making tutorial. So just in case that is, A4 cardstock. So this is UK A4. So this is 11 3/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches. So on the long side, I am going to cut that at 5 7/8. That's cut that in half lengthways, so I've now got 2 pieces. Sorry, I'm shaking the table and the camera shook, sorry. So I've got 2 pieces, so we can use that piece of cardstock for another card. And then on the long side, this measures 8 1/4 by 5 7/8. On the long side, get your scorey bit, and you are going to score at 4 1/8. And just score. And then what we'll do is we'll fold that in the middle. But before I do that, I want to stick my my vellum onto there. So I'm just going to find it where I've put it in here for it to cool down. And I want that to stick on there. Now, what I found with vellum, I did my research with this. What people were saying was any glue will show through. So I thought, right, I still want to glue it down. How am I going to cover that up? So let me show you what I did. So I used tear and tape, which I've got over here somewhere. So this is some tear and tape. So making sure that I've got the right side, turn it over. So tear and tape just a little bit, don't need much. And just put that in each corner. So we've got that, and we're going to stick that to the right side of our card before we fold it. So take the backing paper off your tear and tape, which when you've got gel nails like mine, takes ages. Let me find my little tool. This is part of my take your pick tool. And you just lift that off like that. Far easier, far quicker. So start off by getting it in the corner correctly. Using pack card isn't necessarily ideal, but it just gives a better effect on the card using black. So I'm going to put that there. Yeah, we've got that pretty central. But what you find is that you can see where your glue is, and it doesn't look particularly nice. So what I've got is some gold glimmer paper and the butterfly punch. And I'm just going to punch out some of the small butterflies. So I need 4 of those. Ideal for using up bits of scrap glimmer paper. And then I'm just going to stick these on with mini dimensionals, which I've got here. My crafty friend sent me these. I was saying to, I was actually talking to somebody in the crafty group, and I said just how supportive we all are, and and I'd received these in the post because she knows just how much I love stamping dimensionals, and that's what these are. And she sent them to me in this really lovely folder, which I don't want to take apart to try and work out how she made it. I'll have to try and work that out without taking it apart. But that's Crafty Karen Designs. She's craftykarendesigns.blogspot.com. She might have a tutorial on that. So yeah, she sent that to me. How nice is that? That is what a nice group we've got. An absolutely lovely, supportive totally bonkers crazy, paper crafting loving, cheerleading group. It's why I love being a Stampin' Up demonstrator, particularly in this group. We all keep each other, you know, if ever any of us are having a bad day or are feeling a bit low or we're beating ourselves up about something, you can bet your life somebody in the team will come along to keep you in check. Anyway, back to this. So on each of my butterflies, I'm just going to pull their wings up a little bit, just so that they stand up a bit, which is a bit more difficult with this glimmer paper because it's quite thick. Take the backing off the little foam pad, and then I'm going to put that in the corner and cover up that glue. And I'm going to do that 4 times. And you wouldn't necessarily have to do butterflies. There are other punches. Our Bitty Blooms, Itty Bitty Bloom, Itty Bitty Punch, can't remember what they're called. Group of 4 punches. It's almost about to retire, but they would do a really good job of this because they've got little flowers. So final one, and then we have finished our project. Lots and lots of lovely gold glimmer. So we've got our heat embossed Magnolia. We've got a nice sentiment there. I'm trying to catch the light with it. Let's move out of the way so it's actually in the sunlight. Isn't that pretty? So with the, I've forgotten what it's called. Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. Some gold embossing powder, the Versamark, the embossing buddy and the heat tool. Gives you a really beautiful, pretty card. It has such a lot of positive feedback on this when I put this on social media. Lots of people liked it. There's still lots of things I want to use with vellum. So I'll have to get thinking about that. But thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you can see lots more videos. We have got a new catalogue launching. I've got a launch event on my Facebook page. Taffy Crafting, just come and find me. You can find me on Instagram, search Taffy Crafting, and look at what is going to be happening on the 7th of June at 7:30, 7 o'clock actually, UK time, where I've got my online launch party, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.